Man, has it really been that long? Wow, time flies.
Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother.
They're gonna run out of cheese heads soon!
The Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, about now, about now, about now.
What is poppin', y'all? It's your man Club Boy Bales, and welcome to another episode of Wisco Sports Weekly. Where in today's episode, we are going to be discussing the 2019 draft and doing our 5-year regrades. Of course, I plan on doing this every single year before the draft because it's crazy that this is like, like looking back, it's like, wait, it's been this long since we've actually drafted these players. Like, it's actually crazy to like think about. I've done a lot of interesting videos, but I was actually gonna do the 2018 one, but I was like, oh wait, that's 6 years. I'm like, oh, so we need to do 5. Plus, I didn't want to go over the 2018 draft because every single pick in that draft, except Jair Alexander, was absolute trash. So I didn't really want to go over that one. So this one seems actually this was a way better draft. So honestly, I'm obviously going to go over all the picks. I think we had 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, a third, a fifth, 2 sixths, and a seventh. So that was 8 total picks. And I think a lot of them were good. Some were not so good. But I can't believe it's been this long since we actually drafted a lot of these people. So it's crazy what's going on, but hey, the draft is coming soon. We're literally over 1 week away. And pretty much coming soon will be my mock draft video for the entire league and my mock draft video for the Packers, even though every time I do my one for the Packers, that one never is right. So honestly, anything can happen. But if you like what you see, comment below, subscribe with your thoughts, and let's get down to business. So with the first pick, I think it was number 12, if I'm correct, the Packers selected edge rusher Rashan Gary. I was watching this one with my friends, and my friend's reaction was he picked up a football and chucked it across the room. We were not happy with that pick. That was because, one, we signed Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, so we already had our edge rushers. So why did they draft someone? Were they going to put him at defensive line? Because he did play that in college. But, he did have some also shoulder issues. So I was sitting there like, is this even going to be a good pick? I had no idea. But from the looks of it, years by years he went down. He was the backup for the first 2 seasons. But, his second season, he really came out strong and really showed that he could produce. And then that third year came, Zadarius Smith went down with an injury, and he had his career year. That was, I think almost 9.5 sacks or something like that. We lost Zadarius Smith, but we didn't need to lose him because Rashan Gary was there the whole time. And I think having depth at the edge was so important, regardless of what you really think. Obviously, last year, he had 6 sacks, but unfortunately, that season got cut short due to him tearing his ACL. And honestly, I think that would have been his career year because he was really on pace to have that career year. He was unbelievable. Right now, 135 total tackles, 22.5 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles with 4 fumble recoveries. This pick was an absolute success. So, of course, after each of these picks, I'm just going to obviously go over my grade on what I think it is. And so for Rashan Gary, I think he's one of the most underlooked players and one of the most underrated edge rushers in the league because obviously of his, he was obviously a starter. This was a pick that they could have obviously drafted, I think, Derwin. Wait, no, who was it? There were other people I think they could have drafted, but I'm actually very satisfied that we ended up getting Rashan Gary. So I'm going to say this one's an A- because he actually is a dominant, really good player when healthy. Our other first round pick, we traded up for, which was something that Brian Gutekunst normally never does. That was Darnell Savage. We needed a free safety at the time. Obviously, that was one of our weakest positions. We signed Adrian Amos, and we still needed someone on the other side. And they decided to go up and take Darnell Savage. He wasn't supposed to be a first-round pick. I think he was a high second, but I guess they really liked him so much that they just took him when they had the chance. But this was a highly underrated pick at the time. His rookie year was really good. He showed some flashes. He could tackle, but then there's times where he can miss some tackles. And, in 2020, he led the team with interceptions. He really showed, he could do some things. Now, of course, last year, that was a terrible year for him. He actually had to move out of free safety and play cornerback because Rudy Ford was having a better year than he did. His only highlight from last year was a pick 6 against the Vikings. There really wasn't much to really say. But Savage, on the other hand, he has a total of 251 total tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 9 interceptions, including that pick 6. This was a mid-success. He's not worth much money. He did sign his 5th year, so of course he still has one more possible year with the team unless we do sign him to an extension. But honestly, I think he does have a lot to prove if we want to keep a guy like him or not, knowing that safety is likely the biggest weakness in this year's draft. In my eyes, I say this pick, I'll give this one a B- because I think they could have selected someone else. He ended up being a good player, but really hasn't been that good as of lately. So you know what? I say we could have gotten someone else, but it was a good pick at the time. So I'll say still B-. All right, second round. Going on, we have Elgin Jenkins. Honestly, this is probably out of all the people, this was the best pick. It seems to be that the Packers have always had a successful player coming out of the second round. They always seem to know who to draft when it comes to the offensive line. And honestly, when you get an offensive lineman that can literally play every single position on the offensive line, that is one of the biggest wins. Dude is exactly what you want in a teammate. He loves being part of the Packers. We signed him to an extension, so basically we're likely going to get him for the big majority of his best years of his career. Now last year, of course, 2 years ago he tore his ACL, so he obviously came back from injury last year and didn't look as dominant because they actually had to force him to play tackle. And that was obviously not formidable, but once they move him back to guard, I think he is one of the best guards in the league. He's an all-pro. He's made the Pro Bowl several times. He's one of the best linemen in the league. He's definitely a great player, and I don't know where the Packers would really be without him. Absolutely nothing but positivity with the team. Success by a mile. A+. There's nothing you can say about Elgin Jenkins that's wrong. All right, our third round pick. Now this was a pick. This was a pick that our third round picks are terrible. I thought Oren Burks was bad in 2018. But this pick in 2019 single-handedly might be the worst pick the Packers have ever made in the history of their team. They took Sternberger, a tight end that had such a high ceiling that they thought he was going to be a number 1 tight end in the league. Now, I was excited for this guy. I saw his highlights. I was stoked. This guy I thought was going to be the real deal. He was gonna be a backup behind Jimmy Graham, which made sense because Jimmy Graham was on the decline. They signed him as a starter, and then he was gonna eventually take over. And then he suffered an injury in his first year of the league. We didn't even see him until the postseason. And then and then Jimmy Graham left. We thought he was gonna take over, and then instead that ended up being Robert Tonyan. That year, was his only year where he ever actually got any playing time in 2020. But he got suspended, taking PEDs. He's gotten into fights with his teammates. I don't know what the heck is wrong. And honestly, then his third year just kind of came, and the team just kind of gave up on him, and he got cut before that season started. He only lasted a little bit of time with the team, absolutely wasted pick. He's bounced from team to team, and now he's in the USFL playing for the Birmingham Stallions. Only 12 catches, 114 yards, and a touchdown was his total stat line of his entire NFL career. That is what you call a bust. This is an F grade. I just feel bad. I mean, we never had luck going in the third round. Okay, going on, the second half of this draft. Now, of course, these are guys that I can consider guys that probably didn't really make an impact or could have made an impact. So, you know what? I'll go on with this because obviously there isn't much to say on the second half, but here I go. So, with a fifth round pick, they selected Kingsley Kiki. And this was a player I completely forgot we even had on the team. I forget we even drafted him in 2019 because he didn't even do anything until 2020 because he also suffered an injury and didn't have any playing time. And then preseason came along, he really kind of came on, and then he actually got starting time, and he actually was looking really good in 2020. He was a starter. They actually gave him starting time over other people because he was actually really showing up. And then in 2021, halfway through the season, they just stopped playing him, you never heard of him, and then he got kicked off the team. And we found out that he had problems and was causing fights, and just the team was like, get out. Another guy that just completely wasted his career because of off-the-field issues again. When he was good and decent, he played and ended up with 54 tackles, 6.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. That was pretty much all in 2020. But his off-the-field behavior kind of really costed him. So he actually was good for us. Like, he actually was starting, doing some things. I'll give this pick a C because I wish the off-the-field issues wouldn't have happened. But, yeah, he couldn't get his cool. That was unfortunate. For the 6th round, we drafted 2 guys, one of those being Kadar Holmen. He was a cornerback, likely for depth, and honestly, you're not going to get the greatest picks in the world. This wasn't a great pick. He was only part of the team for like 2 seasons before being cut in 2021, and he was back up to a bunch of defensive backs and corners like Jair Alexander, Kevin King, I think Eric Stokes still. I don't know. I think, yeah, we got them later, but Holmen just, you knew he wasn't going to get playing time. He only 10 total tackles, 3 passes defended, nothing much in his entire career, which I think was only 1 or 2 seasons or something. So pretty much this really was this is a bust here, but I don't really think it's his fault because, to be honest, there was just too much depth at that position at the time, and I knew he wasn't going to get playing time. So I'll give this pick a D+, but honestly, you couldn't expect more. Next up, Dexter Williams. I heard great things about him, but this was another situation where you had 2 running backs in Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams that pretty much made you forget that he was even part of the team, and then he was just on there, the team, off the team when injuries happened. Then they drafted A.J. Dillon the next year, so basically this pick was absolutely unfair, because I wanted to see him get playing time, only 7 carries for 19 yards in his entire career. That honestly won't help. This pick was absolutely a waste. I'll give it a D- because honestly I expected him to at least hopefully contribute, but he never did. So, D- for Dexter Williams. And then with a 7th round pick, this was actually shocking because this was actually a decent pick. Ty Summers. Random pick that actually ended up being decent. In 2020, he actually got some playing time due to injuries. Of course, he is very slow, which is why he never really made an impact in the league. I think he's now playing on other teams. But, you know, 52 total tackles in his 3 years with the team. He was obviously cut last season, and he's currently on the New Orleans Saints. You know what? I'm not going to say this was a terrible pick because he showed some flashes, especially in preseason. I actually really liked him in preseason. He looked like he was going to be a totally great player, but it just was unfortunate that he wasn't. So, you know what? 7th round pick, you know, at least Kadar Holmen, Dexter Williams were bust, and this guy actually got his chances because 7th-round picks don't usually do well. I mean, there was Donald Driver, but no. But let's be real. I mean, this is actually decent. I'll give this one a C because he actually did decent for us for a couple of years as a backup. So if you like what you see, subscribe below, comment with your thoughts, and as always, you'll hear more from me in the coming weeks. So anyways, my mock draft will be out soon for both the Packers and the NFL. draft is coming soon. I apologize that I haven't really made anything on that Bucks game. I was busy because also it was Succession. I love that show. So I kind of forgot to make a video. But honestly, that was an embarrassing game, and hopefully Giannis is okay. But anyways, more stuff is to come later on the draft. I think I'm focusing on that for right now. But if you like what you see, comment below, subscribe, and do whatever. So can't wait for the draft. We're literally 9 days away. We'll see you next time.